top story at this hour, the war of words has escalated between the public protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane and her predecessor Thuli after alleging Busisiwe of targeting her. The former public protector is now urging President Jacob Zuma to prove that he didn't influence Busisiwe's appointment. On one hand, the former public protector is making these allegations against President Zuma. At the same time, as she has also apologized to the president for her remarks, blaming him for the deductions made from her gratuity fund to reclaim car damages. Madonsela reiterates that she was being targeted for investigating President Zuma on the Nkandla security upgrades and state capture. According to the Sunday Independent, Thuli Madonsela claims President was targeting her through the 400,000 rand fine for recovering damages to her official car. But the presidency has said Madonsela should refrain from such conduct as the president does not play any role when it comes to the salary and conditions of service of the public protector. Madonsela has now apologized for her claims. Madonsela's latest allegation says that she suspects that the president nominated Busisiwe Mkhwebane for the position of the public protector, which has been denied by the presidency. Now let's take a look at some of Madonsela's allegations, facts and the questions they raise. Thuli alleges that Mkhwebane is responsible for docking her gratuity by 400,000 rand, but docking of gratuity is done per existing rules and not personal whims. The question here is the blaming a public protector a convenient distraction to hide non-payment of dues owed to government? Thuli's second allegation is that Mkhwebane told the staff that she was nominated by the president, whereas the new public protector's nomination processes is well documented and has been vetted by Parliament. Now this begs a question if it is ethical for Madonsela to rely on hearsay to accuse the president of interference. Madonsela further alleges that a staff member in Public Protector's office claimed to have got a job offer SMS from Mkhwebane even before she was appointed Public Protector. Madonsela's serious allegation is made on the basis of hearsay and SMS. Even if it is established that the message had come from Mkhwebane, how does it establish President's guilt? Public Protector Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane has reiterated that she harbors no ill will towards the predecessor.
The Public Protector is disappointed with all of these things that seem to suggest that the decision to withhold a portion of Advocate Madonsela's gratuity payment is informed by ill will. She did indicate earlier in the previous week during a press conference she held at her office that she has sought legal advice from the State Attorney's Office to clarify if indeed Advocate Madonsela is liable for the costs associated with the fixing of the damages the state car entrusted to her sustained in 2012. Full care must be taken to not inconvenience Advocate Madonsela. Hence, the office did release to her the rest of the gratuity payment, with the understanding that the only amount that has been withheld is the amount that is in dispute. And then in the event the legal opinion indicates that Advocate Madonsela cannot be held liable for these costs, the Public Protector's Office will release the money to her. The amount in question amounts to just around 450,000 rands, and it includes the 37,000 that has to do with the use of the vehicle, state vehicle by Advocate Madonsela beyond her term of office.
And now to discuss this further, we are joined by Sipho Siepe, political analyst. A very good evening to you, sir, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, how do you view these allegations being made by the former public protector that she suspects that there is a deal between Mkhwebane and President Jacob Zuma?
Well, for some of us who have actually watched her throughout the years, our view is that it is not surprising. She has always tended to be very reckless. And I think she has always been overrated. In this country, to be seen as the real deal. You must be seen to be against the government of the day, and especially the president. The president is an easy pick, and anybody who wants to make a name for himself or herself, you just have to target the president. And we see also some of the media will recycle people who do that. So I'm not shocked that she has said that. And for somebody who's a lawyer, you would have thought that she would have been more circumspect before she can make accusations around or about anybody. Now, for her to say on the basis of hearsay, I suspect and accuse somebody, and later retract that I should not have said so, is indicative of the character of the person that we are dealing with. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you are having a person who suffers from what I may call withdrawal symptoms from position of power and influence. There are some people who, when they occupy the position, they're no longer able to separate themselves from the position. They become the institution themselves. And when it's time to go, they want to cling. And what you see in her is that because she suffers also from media addiction, it is always important for her to be always in the news. So having any opportunity to do that, instead of just keeping quiet and moving to the sunset, she finds herself having to make all these reckless statements. But at the same time, we should also understand it, that this is a very deliberate ploy. The ploy to divert attention from her failures to do what she would have expected other people to do. Here you have somebody who had a car in her possession, the car that was part of the tools of the trade. And her son takes the car without a permission. So effectively, her son stole the car. And there's no evidence that she opened the case of theft. So somebody steals a state car and crashes it. And the next thing is, you would have thought that somebody who's always eager to say other people should pay back the money, she would have understood that here my son erred, and I know my son, and I did not give my son the keys. You know, it's almost like having a child who takes your car and crashes it. The insurance would always ask, was this person empowered to drive the car? And should the person have driven? If they find that the person was not supposed to have driven the car, they will refuse to actually pay. She would have understood that as a lawyer and as somebody who always has given the same medicine to other people. But she failed to do that. But that's what happens when you become sullen-headed in a position. You actually think that certain rules apply to other people, but they do not apply to you. So that is the tragedy of this matter. And so when people have been saying pay back the money to President Zuma, she should have actually said, I need to also to clean my act. My son had destroyed the property that belonged to the state, and I did not even open a case of theft, and therefore I will pay. So this is a failure. Instead of us concentrating on why would somebody who presented herself as holier than thou and fails the very first test that comes to her space. Now she wants to divert attention around and about the new public protector. And number one, it is also nonsense for her to start saying the nomination and the appointment and all that. The process of selecting the public protector was public. And the parties that were there, except one, agreed that here we have somebody who is fit for the position. And even the party that refused to support, it was based on some allegation that she was a spy. It was not about her performance during the interviews. So for her to bring that simply says that she may have preferred somebody else, not her, not the current one. So if you're talking about somebody who's vindictive, it is her who's vindictive. So unfortunately, because she has become the darling of the media, and the hypocrites in that space are not raising this issue to say, ma'am, you've done your work, move on. Stop trying to temper and try to rule the office when you are already outside. So this is the crisis that we are actually facing. And for her to bring the president into the picture, it's also very unfortunate.
And what kind of action should she be facing for the incident that took place where her car was stolen by her son and then it was ruined?
Well, I mean, when we should actually ask the question, what do you think if it happened to a minister or an official, what will Thuli Madonsela say? Thuli Madonsela will say, you should have reported the theft. And two, that you are liable for all the damage because you should have known that you should not put your keys there, you should know your son. And some people have even argued that it was not the first time that her son drove the car. The only reason why we know about it is that the car crashed. But if the car was not involved in an accident, we would not have known. So she cannot, and she should have understood that some people would have raised those issues. So being holier than thou should have forced her to say, let me clean my act. She failed to clean her act. So I don't think there should be any sympathy with regard to that matter. So she must be willing to take the same medicine and medication that she was willing to give to others. And instead of doing that, she wants to divert attention by bringing the president into. Now she says the president is behind, or she suspects that the president might be behind this, and with no evidence. And if you were to look at what has been unfortunate actually throughout her tenure, is that whenever she made recommendations, the ANC government never tried to challenge it. They actually played along. The only time they tried to question her remedial actions and their position was only when it involved President Zuma. But all along, some of her findings were always suspect. And even so, we should also remind ourselves that she is the one who had felt that the remedial actions of the public protector must be binding. So if you have a new public protector that comes up with something that should be binding, then she must know that she pushed for that. There are many scholars who had actually felt and still feel that the decision by the Constitutional Court was wrong to make remedial actions of one person, a person who instigate the what you call the investigation, and then comes up with a judgment and comes up with remedial action. It's almost like you know, in a criminal justice system, you have the police that investigate, then you have the prosecutors, then you have a judge. Here, what you have all this contained in one person. So those lawyers and judges who felt that the remedial action should not be binding is because they understand that if it is one person having to make those decisions or one office, the likelihood of making a mistake are high. But because it involved President Zuma, it was like wrong things can be done to the wrong person. And people chose not to start looking at that. Now what we're seeing now is the consequences of us accepting something that on the surface makes no sense or is nonsensical. So I do think that she can do this country well if she simply does what she would have done or recommended had it been somebody else. So the adage that says, do unto others as you like them to do unto you, applies here.